right. Hello, my friends. Shall we begin our Sunday check-in? Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I hope that everybody had a great week. And please accept my hearty welcome to our weekly Communities of Practice Sunday check-in session, a half hour of Dharma, reflection, and community connections. If you're a new member of our community, please accept our wholehearted welcome and know that if you are unsure or have any questions about our practices and topics, we are all here to help. And if you are a regular, welcome back. It is customary in Australia to begin any meeting by acknowledging the traditional owners of our land. So in the spirit of reconciliation, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we walk, study, and reside, the Wadi Wadi people of the Dharawal Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I also pay my respects to the traditional custodians of the various lands on which you all are. In addition, I would also like to recognize the triple gem of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Together, they make up the lineage, philosophy, and community of Buddhism that I embrace to deepen my engagement, reflection, and investigation. The check-in sessions have been developed by our Communities of Practice team and the entire community. These sessions aim to develop a reflective practice in response to changes. Guided by humanistic Buddhism, we would like to cultivate our practices and build memorable friendships. Since April this year, you have heard from Len, Meg, Cecil, Stephen, Tina, Jane, Grace, Kwong, and Gawain speak to their chapters in this book, Cultivating Compassion, Going Beyond Crises. You may download the free e-version from the Peter Lang website. Today, we'll have the final Meet the Author session for this book. Jade Hutchinson and Alex Trout-Goy are no strangers to the Communities of Practice. In April 2021, they facilitated an insightful disruptive technology session for us, keeping us apprised of the social media world. Hence today, it is with great pleasure that I invite them back to share their chapter in our book. Over to you, Jade.
Well, look, thank you so much for having me. I know that I am on limited time here, so I do want to start and go through the presentation with a rather brisk pace. I've included a number of notes on the PowerPoint slides, and I hope once my technical issues are resolved, everyone can have a copy of this presentation if need be. So if you find that you're missing any details on the slide, I hope you will have a version you can reflect on later today. As Jue mentioned, Alex and I were fortunate enough, we feel deeply grateful to have contributed to an edited collection. Our particular chapter was on social connection in the attention economy. We employed a evolutionary and ecological approach to better understand the ways that social media technology is disrupting one of the core faculties and one of the foundations of what it means to be human, and that is to socially connect with others. I am also quite proud to deliver this presentation on Alex's behalf as well. He could not be here with us due to living in Vienna. But just before we move on, I think it's important to note exactly what we're talking about here. I know social media is a very complicated technology. It has many different qualities and characteristics, and sometimes it's easier to know what we're talking about if we can capture some kind of definition from the outset. There are a few that I am quite fond of. The thing to take away from this descriptive definition is three things. One, this is a technology that enables you to be clearly identified online. One of the reasons why companies like Meta are as monstrably powerful as they are is because they provided everyone with an essential way to represent identity online. And that was not something that came along with the internet when it was first devised. It was a way to signal to a wider public that you are present and able to participate online. The other one is to have your social connections or your social relationships illustrated for the remainder of the public to perceive. So not only are you represented, but everyone that is in your online network. Having that network visualized is an extremely powerful perception to have, particularly as today things are getting more complicated. And as things get more complicated, content on a larger array of different topics and identities and issues are just flooding the platforms, and something that we have the capacity to engage with at any time. I think it's important to note that at each point in which we socially connect online, this kind of technology is mediating our connection, both with each other and that content. There are a few basic reasons why social media is as important as it is. It has a need for self-presentation, as I've already noted, but this representation also gives us the capacity to belong and to compare ourselves to others. And I know that you can already feel the ways in which this may result in some unsavory social experiences, but there are a few key innovations that made this whole thing possible. One was by what some have referred to as the expert's expert, Ralph Stewart McKay, who has effectively integrated a technology called telemetry into the social media machine. What this essentially enables those companies to do is to collect a very broad range of sensory information from the world. And the way that they discovered this was by ecology, actually, of all places. Initially, Ralph Stewart McKay had implanted a series of devices in animals and on the side of different animals while studying them for ecological purposes in the Galapagos Islands, one of them being the great tortoise. So he essentially attached all of these sensors to all of these different animals in the Galapagos and then was able to draw information from them outside of their awareness and concentrate all that information into a central place for further computation. Once you have all that information, once you know how are all of these different animals behaving in the way that they are outside of their awareness, supposedly, then you can begin to understand the reasons why they do things and why they don't do things. And this was combined with something that B.F. Skinner later mastered called conditional behavior or behavioral conditioning. And these are different types of techniques that you can use to reinforce or deter certain types of behavior. And the more easily you know exactly what reinforces or deters behavior, the more effectively you can shape that behavior over time. Now, what happens if you take these two innovations and you give them to humans on the basis of being the most important or mainstream ways of making social connections? This has a really staggering effect on how it is that we come to participate socially now in the world. And something that has been made almost universally adopted are the ways in which they've been filtered into the different ways that social media platforms are designed. And one essential component of this whole enterprise is how that information is drawn from us and the ways in which that information is used to shape our behavior is then recycled and continues to be used in the way that these platforms make decisions about how we participate in other activities. So there's a great concept, I mean great as in a hugely influential concept here, which is called social sorting. So with all that information about us, all information that we know that shapes us, how it's been integrated into social media design can then be used to be sold to other companies who wish to know more about us across any one of the near 200,000 metrics that are collected on us by social media companies. And this can be everything from sexual preferences to personality types to how you look to your previous relationships. So pivoting now to where this chapter really makes a difference in our eyes is how can we come to completely redefine the way that social media has become in some ways, a disruptive force in our lives. And we see no better place within society to bring in humanistic Buddhist values such as care, inclusivity, and compassion within this broader umbrella of metta. We consider care in our chapter to be a first and primary, or a captain duty, in how to protect and care for the youngest and particularly the most vulnerable people. Not everyone should or can use social media, and I think it's important to ask or pose those self-reflective questions. The next one is inclusivity. How can we redefine social media as a public good? We understand that there is a reality, and that is, I think social media will be here to stay. So how can we shape our relationship to social media such that it benefits everyone? And compassion. How do we develop a more mindful etiquette on our own, as well as how do we promote a more mindful, compassionate inquiry when it comes to our own use of these technologies? Now, I know I'm already pushing on the time limit of my presentation here. I hope the host will appropriately bring me up when necessary. I believe I only have another minute or two of presentation here, just to point out a few ways forward based on what we know. And one of the things that we recommended in the manuscript was to transform the infrastructure, right? What does it mean to open up what is essentially a closed system of structural dependency? So how can we all participate in this enterprise, which is social media? And in what ways can it benefit us as individuals as well as businesses? I guess it's important to embrace the reality that social media is here to stay, and how can we shape it so as to better suit us as human beings, rather than a sort of wells of raw material for these companies to extract information from. And one way to do that is to make private data more available for public interest, right? If this is a shared good, it'd be amazing to think that every time someone spends time on these platforms, it's not simply to accrue money for the proprietor. Always be spread to help regulate and safeguard some of the things that are most important to us. That is to say, the things that are most tightly tied to our sense of social connection. One way to do that is to create a data trust. So these are institutions that would manage the trust that exist outside of government to best insulate them from political opinion or bias, also to ensure that the other people that are most involved in this enterprise can also participate, having a say. Having occasions like this to poke and prod at our intuitions around social media, and even question whether the way in which we're having social media in our life is really good for us or not, and the ways in which we can leverage it to better everyone's sense and feelings of social connection. And there's 3 questions that I'm hoping to leave you with, and that is, what social media platform do you use the most? Why do you use it? And when I say this, it's not to say, well, it helps me connect with my family or my friends. Thinking a little bit more introspectively, a little bit more deeper, what does it do for you specifically? Does it distract you? Does it bring you joy? And what proportion of your time spent on the platform is spent in joy or is spent as a distraction? And the last one, which is a much broader societal question, do you think we should ban social media platforms for everyone 17 years or younger? Why or why not? I understand they're each tricky questions in their own way. I really look forward to the opening discussion, and thank you so much for letting me talk for as long as I have. Thank you, Jue.
Oh, thank you so much, Jade. You're just on time. We really want those slides, so we'll have to find a way to get those PowerPoints from you, because there's so much packed into them and very relevant. You have made, I think, a lot of things that are going out in the industry that's being discussed, and you've simplified them, made them very succinct. So those are very important notes. We'll find a way to get the notes from you. But for now, we'll be placed in groups of 3 to 4 to share and discuss. In the discussion, we recommend you spend some time getting to know each other and then discussing our questions. There will be some Zoom notifications to guide you, but feel free to let the flow of your discussions guide you too. Our sessions are guided by metta, which is unconditional love and kindness for all sentient beings. Let's use these breakout sessions to express and receive loving kindness to and from one another. And especially since we are going to talk about social media and the role of metta on such platforms. And later, we'll ask you to share some of your findings with the larger group. when you're out of your breakout session. So for now, let's go to our breakout rooms for rich and nourishing discussions. See you all back in 12 minutes.
Thank you, Jade, for making time and while you've been on holidays down there. It was a wonderful session. I hope that you all felt the loving kindness and compassion of the community today. And if you have any further inquiries, email us at thebbep.org.au. Next week, we have Bhante Damika coming to join us. He'll be doing 2 sessions for us. They'll be free-form sessions, and Bhante is always good fun. So join us next week at 11 a.m. As we check out today, we'll dedicate the merits together. Venerable's coming back. Just in time. I was thinking, I hope I remember the dedication of merits.
Let us now dedicate the goodness of what you have done to all living beings. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our gratitude and humility give rise to great vows.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We hope to see you again next Sunday on September the 8th, and for the next 2 sessions with Bhante Damika.